Welcome in. It's almost time.
All right, everyone, welcome in. This is the Sports Hounds exclusively on A2D Radio.com. Brad Doug Mankiewicz. I'm Rob Brinkman. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. NFL training camp starts tomorrow here in Philadelphia. Everyone's really excited. We got the Phillies, MLB trade deadline. Talk big picture MLB. Not the best stretch for the Phillies over the weekend against the Brewers and the Guardians, but I remain confident. This team's going to be in the playoffs, and they're going to be dangerous in the playoffs. We'll get everyone's take. We'll get to your comments. Each and every Monday, we're brought to you by Philly Sports Trips, the Philadelphia 5for5 sports travel company. Premium travel and tailgating experience for the passionate fans of Philadelphia. Go to phillysportstrips.com. Check out our man Vince for everything we have upcoming for the Eagles football season. Also brought to you by Baguio's Breads, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuff. Tomato breads, pies, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D for your 10% off your in-store purchase. As always, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. If you miss anything here on A2D Radio, download us wherever you get your podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. No reason to miss anything. Should be a special fall here in Philadelphia. Might be a special fall for Brad in New York. Personally, I think the Giants are going to be pretty good, depending on Saquon Barkley, which we'll get into. Yankees are playing better, and as Brad pointed out to me this morning, a rare positive text about the Yankees from Brad. They're about to get a little healthier, it looks like, and they're 2 games out of the wild card, so there's no reason for them not to add. Let's get to
getting Judge back is almost everything. Getting Loizaga back is also almost as big, because that extra reliever in the bullpen is key. They really do need that extra. They need another arm in the worst way, and when he's healthy, he's one of the better relievers in the league. And it would behoove them if they could get him out there and give us an inning every other day. That would be very, very good for the Yankees.
Our poll question is brought to you by Alan Foy at eXp Realty. Looking to buy or sell a home, looking for a change in career brokerage, contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. Our poll question tonight: the Phillies' recent struggles have you concerned that they will miss the playoffs? Just an update on the standings. Trade deadlines this week. I expect them to add. They are tied for the third wildcard spot with the San Francisco Giants and the Miami Marlins. They seem to never beat the Marlins, but I do think they're better than the San Francisco Giants. So we'll see. I was not pleased Saturday. A 1-0 loss to the Cleveland Guardians. Wheeler goes out there, pitches a gem. You get no runs from this big 5, I guess it is, that are making all the money on this team. No runs in a game. It's like getting no hit in the World Series. The team with this much talent and this much payroll should not be scoring 0 runs or getting 0 hits over 9 innings. And I feel like I change my opinion every day on what this team needs to contend. I look at the lineup tonight, and it's a little bit of a skeleton crew. And then I look at it closer. It's not really a skeleton crew. Only one guy's taking a seat, JT Realmuto. Garrett Stubbs is in there. The rest is just kind of put together with spit and glue. I don't know. I think they need a hitter. Doug, you said last week that you wouldn't touch their offense. I don't know. I don't know who's going to sell. I don't know who's going to be buying aggressively. The Cardinals said they were going to sell, and now they're winning games. So I don't know. But look, they're 1-4 in their last 5. The getaway day against the Brewers I can excuse because Corbin Burns is pretty good. He shut them down. He pitched 7-8 innings, struck out 10. And they bounced back on Sunday against the Guardians to get a big extra inning win. Kimbrel blows his first save of the season. They're still able to get it done. But I have every confidence the team is going to get there. I mean, if they stand pat, I don't know if they make the playoffs. I don't know. That doubt is starting to creep into my mind.
Why is that? Who are you? Okay, look at it this way. Wild card wise. Who are you afraid of? Like, not afraid, but like who are you worried about creeping up in there? The Marlins.
I'm not afraid of anybody in the National League in a 5 or 7 game series.
Oh no, I'm just talking about the wild card. I'm talking about like you said, they're like what are they? They're tied for the third wild card, right?
Yes, with the Marlins and the Giants.
Teams that have tasted it before just need to get in. And you look at like who's like I had it open. I was trying to find it again, but like the Marlins are close, right? And what was the other team you said was close?
The Giants.
You see, like I worry more about the Giants just because they have a knack of pulling off some deals that usually end up working out. But look, the Marlins have played well above expectations, right? No one expects them to be anywhere near close to where they are. They do have pitching, but they never seem to put it together for 6 months. The Giants, they're in a tough division. Like, so are the Phillies, but like you bring the Diamondbacks into this thing, meaning like they're going to have to run into each other a little bit more than I think. I didn't look at their schedules on the stretch, but you look at Philly. I bring a name like goes back to where we are in today's trade deadline thing. It's like Kiki Hernandez. Someone's going to try to overpay for him, which I don't think I would love to have him in my squad. He's got playoff experience, been it all the time, has a flair for the dramatic, flair for the big moment. Does Boston give him up, or do you have to give up too much to get him? But there's your right-handed bat in the outfield. Can play infield, can play outfield, can hit in the postseason. I just don't think to me, if you're going to go get someone offensively, it better be someone like that. Like, no disrespect to Tommy Pham, but like, unless you pull that move off, you hope you hit lightning in a bottle like the Braves did with Rosario and Duvall and Peterson, right? Back when the Braves made their run. But like Tommy Pham, like you got to feel like your guys are capable of doing just what he can bring. You look at their numbers; they don't struggle against lefties. They're 3 games above against everybody. So righties and lefties. So I get everybody wants more offense, but I feel like your lineup's deep enough. If I'm them and Dave Dombrowski, stays according to Hoyle, which is always done, like don't sleep on him behind closed doors making a run at a Verlander or a Scherzer and trying to blow the doors off something, right? Go get that one dude. Like to me, I would be calling the Mets about Verlander every 15 minutes. What's it going to take?
Do you like Verlander?
I heard that the Giants and Padres are doing that.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to get your name in the mix, right? Because like sometimes the trades are the best. Sometimes the moves you made are the ones you didn't make, or you make. If you're worried about someone else going somewhere like else, right? You don't want someone else to get them. You start making, you drive the price up to where it hurts them in the long run. So he's been in this game long enough, and he knows the game as far as the deadline goes. He's not afraid to go get somebody that will wow you. But I would like Kiki's a guy that to me he's like that wild card man. He's a clubhouse just chemistry alpha male, and he just guys when he goes plays there they do well, and he plays his butt off. But to me he's a wild card somewhere. But then again, Boston's only 2 games out of the wild card too. So what are they? They're not really going to dump. I don't think they dump him. Just to get rid of them.
I don't think Boston's dumping anybody. Why would they dump anybody when they're only 2 games out?
Boston's not building for this year. Boston's building for I think they're building for 24-25. That's my personal opinion.
I think they're building for I think that they're doing it for both now and later. I don't think that they're all in this year.
With the Otani thing, with getting the guy from Japan this year. I think they're setting their sets up to go, okay, like if he becomes a free agent, like they're going to make a run at him.
Well, now they're making
Boston,
a run.
yeah. Boston will make a run.
It looks the way they're building this thing, like it looks like they're building for if you make moves a couple years ahead of time to try to pull off, right, the unthinkable. And he's making moves like not to say that Japanese guy is not doing a heck of a job because he is, but like you get a chance to Otani to have not one guy but 2 guys, has a guy that he knows, right? You're making the place like to where Boston without his Japanese counterpart doesn't seem so inviting, but now you got another countryman on there who you played with probably since you were 10 years old. It intrigues you. So it may not be the final factor, and it probably won't, but it doesn't hurt to have guys like that. They're building that house to put the exclamation point on it for the future.
I just don't understand how you justify spending all the money for Ohtani and not spending for Betts and Bogarts. Bogarts maybe not, but
the window. I never got the Mookie Betts thing. It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It made no sense. They don't believe in paying guys and having long-term deals. I get it, but it's not like Mookie was like some flash in the pan. If you have a generational type player, you have to keep him, in my opinion. You got to do everything you can to try to keep him.
Well, they did pay J.D. Martinez though, Doug. They paid him $125 million for 5 years.
But 5 years is not 8 or 10.
Okay, that's true. Okay, I get it.
I mean, in defense of the team, I said that we had this talk last week. Name one team that's had that 10-year contract where it's panned out.
A 10-year contract. I can't name anybody. The only
you can say A-Rod, but A-Rod won a championship in 2009, wasn't it? 2009?
Yeah.
That was it?
Well, A-Rod was a disaster. I mean, he wasn't a disaster in Texas, but he was the only guy on the whole team that was anything because they gave him all the money.
Right, and it was the Yankees could withstand it because they had payroll and all that. They're not afraid to spend money, but that 10-year deal was a train wreck. I mean, he missed 200 games and he threw his team under. They basically threw the whole league under the bus, and it panned out. Then again, is some teams, right? Some teams, if you give a guy a 10-year deal and he brings one championship, they'll build a statue for you. But if you're the Yankees, you give a guy $10 million and he missed it. Don't forget, no player has ever been suspended for more games than he has. So that was an 8.5-year deal or 7.5-year deal, and he won one championship. That ain't good enough in New York. Not when you're making that kind of money. So I just feel like I guess being a GM now has just got to be so different from what they're used to. With all these teams in the mix and all these teams in the run for a playoff spot. Because, I mean, like you said, the Phillies had a bad week. They lost 5 games. That's nothing. But when you're talking 25 teams in the race, that 1 week can change your whole outlook of your entire organization. And the Twins were 500 forever, and now they're 4 or 5 games above 500. It's like, wow, look how good they are. No, they're still playing, a Double-A division. So they haven't been able to get out of their own way all year. But that to me, when you have a chance at battle-tested guys, you never underestimate what they can do when the games become super important. And the Phillies have I mean, last week we were talking about Bryce Harper. He's played his butt off at first base. It's only a couple games, but he's looked pretty darn good over there. So that's a question mark a question that has been answered. Granted, it's only 2 games, but
I think they need to get a right. I think they need to get a right-handed hitting outfielder in the worst way. The Phillies.
Yeah, but
I think their lineup right now, Doug. Fact is fact. They've scored 436 runs this year. Okay, the Yankees have scored 432 runs without Judge. Okay, the Yankees can't hit for shit. If they're scored the same amount of runs, that tells you something. The Phillies aren't scoring enough runs right now. They've got to help out their lineup. They don't have any big guys coming back into their lineup. They've got to go out and get somebody.
What big guy is available?
That I don't know.
Exactly.
Maybe somebody on the White Sox.
Huh?
Maybe somebody on the White Sox. Maybe they're willing to trade Robert. I don't know. I mean,
they're not going to do it. But that's my point. The names, you keep saying this right-handed bat. Yeah, but it's one right-handed bat's not going to change. It's not going to change their lineup.
I'll give you an example of a guy who I think would be a good fit for the Phillies is Marte. I don't know if the Mets would trade him to the Phillies, but he'd be something. The Mets definitely need to bring in a couple of youngsters on that team. That team is old and washed up, and they definitely need to bring in some kids. Marte would be a good fit in Philly. Plus, he can play center field, left field, or right field.
Then again, you're talking about a team trading inside the division, which are not. It doesn't notoriously happen.
But they'll just make the Phillies pay a special tax for it. They'll pay the Yankee tax like the Yankees always have to end up getting paying extra for whoever they want because they're the Yankees. The Phillies will have to do that because they're in the same division.
Yankees do a fantastic job of blowing up their prospects that aren't really that good. And teams have caught on to that most of their prospects aren't the greatest.
Who's that?
The list goes. Look back at think of like what's his face ended up with Rivera to Leday to. They had good careers, but they made him out to be.
Those guys. Yeah, Ruben Rivera was
not very good.
He was really he was a terrific athlete. He just couldn't hit.
Athletes get coaches and GMs fired.
No, I know. I'm just saying he looked like he was going to be the goods, but he wasn't.
But they for a while they did a fantastic job of hyping these guys up. We're like playing against them all the way up in the minor leagues. You're like, these guys aren't very good, but like they're getting hyped up to the brink of where they're the number one or number two prospects in the game, and you're like, these guys stink. And they're great pieces if you keep them in the 7-hole, 8-hole. But when you make them the big piece of a giant trade, and they become the 2, 3, 4 guy in another lineup, you're like, where'd they go? They disappeared. So, that's my point. Like, it's not going to cost the Phillies much to get a Marte. You're not going to get much for that guy. You're not going to get.
No, but the Mets need to clear out some of these old guys and bring in some young players. And I think that it would be a good idea for the Phillies to investigate somebody like that. I think that's a guy who could make a difference for them.
Getting younger has nothing to do with the guy you're going to get back for Marte is going to go right to low A ball. That's not getting younger.
Yeah, but you're also opening up a roster spot for somebody else on the farm.
There's a reason why they're older, because they don't have anybody.
I don't know. I'm not a Met fan. I don't know their farm system. I'm just giving you an example of a guy.
There's more to it than just let's just move this guy, because there's a reason why he's still there. He's a good player. He's a great player, I think. But they don't think that the other guy's ready. Otherwise, they would have moved that guy. And that's what I mean. Like you're talking about, like I don't think a rental piece is going to change the Phillies. Like maybe Tommy Pham.
He's not a rental. Marte signed for next season.
I'm just saying in general. I don't think you're going to get a Marte. I just don't think so. You're going to get a Tommy Pham type of guy. If you catch lightning in a bottle, fantastic. He goes off, has a great second half of the season, August, September, has a great postseason. But if you're a GM, and this is the way I would look at it, if I have to go get Tommy Pham to get Real Muto, Castellanos, Harper, Trey Turner, if I have to get somebody like that to get these guys going, we totally screwed the pooch at putting this team together. Like
Trey Turner has been not as advertised. I don't know what's going on, if he's feeling the pressure, but he just made an error on the TV. That's why I slammed my fist on the desk while you guys were talking. Another one. Everyone bitches and moans that Trey Turner's not the leadoff hitter. He's only walked 29 times. And what is it, 130? How many games they played?
He's never walked.
I mean, Schwarber walks more than him. I'm looking at his stats. He's got a 300 on-base percentage. That's garbage for a $300 million player. He's slugging 390. His OPS is 692. His last 3 seasons, what we thought we were paying for, and I get it. You're paying for what he did, not what he's going to do. That's how you get the player, and I would rather have the player than not have the player. But 809 OPS last year, 950 the year before that. I'm sorry, that's a split season. So 809. What are we doing here? 890, 911, 982. And he's at 692 this year. Is this guy ever going to get it together and give us this year? That's why our offense stinks, because Trey Turner is not living up to his contract. And Nick Castellanos.
Last year?
What's that?
Who did you have at shortstop last year?
Bryson Stott.
Exactly. Who do you think the other team fears more, Stock or Trey Turner? If you had a game in October
this year?
If you had a game in October, would you, and you're the opposing team fan, would you want to see Stock coming to the plate, or would you rather see Trey Turner?
Well, am I talking to a casual, or am I talking about a baseball head like the three of us? Is a baseball head
leave?
like me?
Do you? I can tell you.
I'd rather face Stott because Trey
100%.
Turner has a history of being a clutch hitter.
You're blaming the offense on a complete upgrade, even as bad as Trey Turner's playing.
It's not just him, Rob. Schwarber is batting. I mean, as much as you guys all love Schwarber, he's hitting 180. Yeah, but he's hitting 180. That's not acceptable.
Yeah,
I don't care how many home runs.
Third in the league in home runs.
Yeah, but he's hitting 180. 180 is horrible. You at least hit 200 for God's sakes. I mean, 200, 210. That's not enough.
I wish I could still play now. If they would have told me you could hit 180 to 210 and strike out 200 times,
doesn't matter.
It really does, because let's put it this way: I hit 240 for the Mets, and I literally was on suicide watch. Like I was on pace to I had the best I think home run to at bat ratio outside of my limited shortened season with the Yankees. Like I had 12 or 11 or 12 home runs. I feel like I had 200 at bats, and I was like, I was on suicide watch. I thought it was horrible. It was miserable. But if that's okay.
I don't think a 180 batting average is okay.
It's hard to do. But at this point, but again, it goes back to what the industry is allowing these guys to do. Kyle Schwarber's a much better hitter than the numbers are showing. But when all they care about is how many times they reach the seats, when you have no repercussion for hitting 180, keep banging them in the seats, bud. No, guys that have a high average, they don't care about. Like Schwarber was a really good hitter in the minor leagues. That's the one thing I fight all the time. Like everybody wants power. Well, power starts as being you got to be a good hitter first. But they're allowing. I can't say that the list goes on how many guys I played with or against in a 15 to 18 year span that have to be turning like their skin has to crawl because they legitimately didn't get a chance to play in the big leagues because of they were these guys, and they didn't get a chance. They didn't get a chance to sniff it, and that's got to be so frustrating for guys.
By the way, Bryson Stott, in that little debate we had earlier, I mean, he's hitting 40 points higher from an average standpoint. He only has one less home run, and he's 40 points higher on base, and he's slugging way higher, and his OPS is almost. Quick math here, almost 100 points higher than Trey Turner this year. So in a do or die spot, yeah, I want Bryson Stott to play right here, right now, this season. I mean, Bryson Stott's like the next Trey Turner. He's a really good player.
I'm not saying he's not, but he's not Trey Turner.
But Trey Turner's not. He's not performing. When am I supposed to see? When am I going to see the $300 million player we went out for?
Because of what he makes.
Yes.
Why? Doesn't come out of your pocket.
No, I don't care. That's why it's not my money. So if it's not my money, trade Andrew Painter, who's damaged goods, hit up the Padres and go get me Juan Soto. If it's not my money.
Well, I don't understand. So your track record means nothing to you. Like Trey Turner hitting, banging a great, trust me. There's the World Series, and then there's the WBC. It's about the same atmosphere, a tick more for your country. He showed out like there's no tomorrow. When the lights have been bright, that dude has showed up. I forgot
about the World Baseball Classic.
Right. How many homers
has
Stott hit in his life, including high school, college, and the minor leagues? You can't find that on Wikipedia because you don't know. Like Trey Turner is as bad as he's playing. Again, trust me, great players, when they've had years where they're not up to their own standard, find a way when the games matter the most to click it in and be like, I can wipe away 6 months of frustration with a really good 2-week run. And no matter what the BS media want to talk about, what you did in the regular season has no bearing on what you do in October. So, I mean, how many big hits did what's-his-face get last year? So you're telling me because of if you had shot, you guys have scored 500 runs this year, your offense wouldn't be a problem. You did it last year, and Nick didn't do anything close to what he's capable of doing. You guys made it to the World Series.
I just need him to.
I think you
just
could
need
blame.
more. I just need more out of Trey Turner.
How about
or else
more
I'm
out
not
of
even
Jay?
going to be in October.
How about more out of Real Muto?
How about this?
I mean, he hasn't done anything either.
Their offense hasn't done what they can do, what their track records speak of, right? And where are you? If the season ended today, would you be in the playoffs? Yes.
The Giants lost, so you would be. You'd be tied.
Playoffs, or you'd be in a play-in game. So they're playing. They're not doing what they're capable of doing, but you're still right where you should be. Right? So what? So I don't believe in like let's just go make a move to make a move. I just don't feel that way. I would rather have him go I'd rather have him go try to stockpile and go. Hey, I'm gonna make a run at a Verlander. Think about that. You put one of those dudes, another horse at the top of that rotation, and you bump everybody else down one.
Yeah, now you're talking.
I think it's interesting. So you prefer Verlander over Scherzer?
I'm just saying to me they're each both of them. I'd rather have Verlander. I really do.
Okay.
I would rather have Verlander.
Just because
I just feel like he's just like not to say it's like choosing between a Porsche and a Lamborghini.
Right.
I mean, but like I just feel like Scherzer has got a lot of it's not just Verlander, but like Scherzer's got a lot of miles, and I don't know if like I felt like when he was in LA, I just was like, that's not the same dude I remember. It's almost like he needs like a reset. Whereas as bad as Tommy John is, he's had two of them, and he just got a tune-up. Like he hasn't pitched all year. He's pitched some, but he's been hurt. So you just feel like that dude, if there's a dude that can dial it up, they both can when it matters the most. But like I feel like, and it's just a personal, like maybe it's because I've faced both of them. I just feel like if Scherzer was on his A game, I had a shot to foul one off. If Verlander had his A game, like I had no shot at all. Maybe that's still sticking with me, but I'm just talking about on average.
But you would know better than any of us, Doug, because you faced them.
But either one of those dudes. I'm just talking about number one. If you're gonna make a move, go make like pin your ears back and go. We were you're 2 games away from winning the whole thing last year. Go get a dude. Go get a real dude. Like if you're gonna do it, or just stand pat and play it out. If you feel that strongly about your guys, but if you go make a splash and go get a legit ace, it can be. There's probably a time. I don't think the Mets will get rid of them, either one of them, because they fought like hell to get both of them at the same time. Even though it didn't work out this year, I would never trade to my crosstown, like right next door people in my division, because that will come back and haunt you. But if you're gonna do that, go get you back those guys. Nola, you're talking about the home run thing. You put them in the 3 slot in October. Holy moly! Like you go one of those 2 horses, Wheeler, then Nola. You don't need to score 5 runs a game.
Where do you think, Doug? And Brad too? Where do you think the cutoff is in these standings on who can make it? Like Cleveland's 5.5 back. Cleveland's probably closer in the division than they are the wild card, because the Twins, they're not anything special.
I would be worried as far as the wild card. I would worry about Seattle. Seattle is really starting to play good.
You can win the Central and you'll be 14 games out of the wild card.
The Twins are playing good too, though. They're 8-2. My point is, like, how many games? Is there a number? Do you use the eye test? Like, how do I identify the sellers? Like, are the Mets and Padres sellers? 5.5 and 7 games out?
I think you call everybody. I think if I'm honestly, God, if I'm the Yankees, I'm calling the Cardinals on Arenado. I am. Why not?
Oh, I'm sure they're doing their due diligence, but the Yankees need a left-handed hitting outfielder that can hit.
Well, Bellinger would be perfect for you.
Bellinger would be perfect.
I think Bellinger would be perfect in Philadelphia
because he's having a good year.
Yeah. But
how do I evaluate a guy like
Benintendi last year was
hard though, because is it because he's healthy again? Because I mean, you screw your shoulder up, it takes a while. It does take a while. But like he's having a great year. Is it because what? Did he get back to what he is he healthy? Because I mean, he was arguably 3 years ago. You were talking about him being he was
the MVP of the National League.
Yeah.
thought we're in the same conversation.
Doug,
right?
you put him in Yankee Stadium with the short porch.
You might screw him up. We had this conversation last week.
Oh,
It could. The same.
it could, but at the same point, he can just take a regular swing. He doesn't have to sit there and try to pull everything because he could reach the right field seats and the left. He can hit the left field seats in Yankee Stadium. Maybe not left center, but
you're forgetting about the personal thing where you get traded to the Yankees, and now this park's made for me, and all of a sudden you start getting out of what you normally do, because it's amazing how long it takes some players, because of the field. It's short. It tends to up their aggression. They want to swing harder when they back. In the reality of it, you should back off the throttle because you don't need to kill it to get it out, and vice versa. You play in a big park, you overswing, and all of a sudden you become not a great hitter. So that being said, I agree. I would definitely try to get Bellinger, but it's because I always like trading. Sometimes it's either really works out or it really looks bad. Just because there's no happy medium. Like if Bellinger doesn't do what he's doing right now, is it a bad trade? Well, he's on a hell of a run right now. He's having a great July, but then like the expectation level, from a player's perspective.
Yeah, but he doesn't on the Yankees. He's not the one that has to carry the luggage.
But that doesn't.
Judge is the one that would be carrying the luggage. Still.
No one puts more pressure on themselves than the players themselves. There's no outside factor in this. You can boo. A fan can boo all he wants. It doesn't change the inside. What makes when guys play bad, no one like the boos. Yeah, no one wants to hear it. But like you're booing yourself every night. Like the drive home in the car, like you want to just floor it into a McDonald's sign because you're like. You want to do well, and you're forcing the issue, and you can't. It's like you're not in a never-ending cycle you can't get out of. So, like that's what I mean. Like just because no one's gonna say, "Come in, don't worry about it. Just be one of the guys. Just do your thing." No, they're gonna want to set the world on fire, and that's some guys do it, some guys struggle with it, and it's just the reality of it. But you would hope you would like that's from a player's perspective. You're having a great year, right? Cody's having a great bounce back year, right? People are going to talk about comeback player. Look what he's doing. He had a couple bad years, but okay, you're doing great. Now you go. Let's say you get traded to the Yankees and you fall off, or you don't finish as strong as you were doing now. Like that's a fear factor for a player going like I'm having a bounce back year. Yeah, the what if I go off to New York and do great. Now I'm talking about my $120 million contract, right? But if I fall off, all that first 4 months is just pushed to the back burner going, was that a fluke or what? So it's a tricky situation for a player.
Yeah, I could see that. But, I mean, it's just like getting traded to Boston, Doug. If you're a right-handed hitter, I mean, you played in Boston, so you saw that. You've seen that wall.
I lived it. I tried to be. I mean,
I'm sure the way you used to hit, you probably hit a few line drives off that wall.
I really didn't. I was awful. I was coming off wrist surgery. Like what I just spit out is exactly what I was feeling because I was like, man, I can turn my whole season around. And I put undue heat on myself because I wanted to carry my load. I wanted to carry my weight because everybody, trust me, the worst thing you could tell me was like, don't worry about hitting, just play defense. I'm like, well. You wanted to be like, screw you, because I can hit. And I fought like hell, and I couldn't, I just didn't, I put so much on it. I wanted to prove the Twins wrong. And I thought, man, if I can go off in Boston, I tried to fight to be that player I was in 01 and 03, and it just crumbled in my lap. And I crumbled in my lap for a couple of years. It wasn't just one. So when that's why Bellinger, I'm intrigued to see if the Yankees can pull that off. And see how he does, because I don't think he's afraid of the moment because he's had great postseasons even when he's had awful years.
He played for the Dodgers. I mean that's pressure playing for the Dodgers.
There's no pressure in playing for the Dodgers. That's a cakewalk. That's a day at the beach.
Well, if you're Clayton Kershaw, I might disagree with you because he's expected to be Sandy Koufax all the time.
It's a freaking they talk about trust me, I played in the Giants Dodger rivalry.
Yeah.
that's a Sunday intramural church flag football game compared to the East Coast. Like, don't even get me.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know, like LA's a cakewalk, like compared to the Philly or New York or Boston. So like that's not even it's not even comparable. But my point was like it goes back to what we talked about with Trey Turner. Bellinger, even in his awful years, he came up with big hits with LA in the postseason. Like you know, when he walked to the plate and you're like, oh, you know, they flash the numbers. And you're like, oh, he hit 190 or whatever. But like, damn, like he looks pretty locked in. And like him coming up when he's locked in, regardless of what season he had some really big hits. So that's my point. Once you've done it once, you know how to slow the mechanism down to do it again. So like I always go back to like, yeah, I understand young players have to have their opportunity. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against young players, but you ask 95% or 98% of baseball players, who would they rather have on their team? They're going to pick Trey Turner 99.9% of the time. And that's no disrespect to the other guy because the other guy's a major league shortstop. And he's on a team that went to the World Series. But like Trey Turner's done some special things in the game.
Speaking of young players, the Phillies have a prospect named Griff McGarry down in Double-A. I don't know if you're familiar with him. I don't know if he played for Team USA or whatever, but he's 24 in Double-A. He's got crazy stats.
24 is old in Double-A.
24 is old for Double-A.
24 is old in Double-A, but it's not like he's struggling. I mean, he just pitched.
24.
Anyway, why is he in Double-A? Why isn't he on the big league roster? 24, you're killing it in Double-A. Like,
what's killing it?
I have his stats right here. He is for this year. So his career in the minor. What do you want? His career in the minors. This year he's played for 2 teams. He's only 1-0. I don't know what that's about. He started 12 games.
Oh, it's a pitcher.
He's a pitcher. So he's got. I don't like how this is laid out at all. 63 strikeouts, 27 walks, 16 earned runs in 46 innings.
That's why right there. He's got 25 walks in 46 innings in Double-A. What do you think that equates to at the major league level?
Probably not good, but I'm also
walks per inning.
Well, I don't want him. I'm not talking about him as a starter. At least maybe he'll start, maybe he won't. I don't know, but 24 in Double-A, like there's one of my bullpen pieces. Maybe.
What's his ERA? Not the stats.
Let me get a baseball reference.
What's his? There's a reason why he's 24 and he's in Double-A.
Right. That screams to me that he's not good.
Correct.
Well, most Double-A guys are 20, 21 years old, right?
I mean, it's changed a little bit because of the college thing. Because there's college guys.
They're 22, right?
But yeah, you should. Like, if you're like that seems really old. Double-A though, I had some 30-year-olds in Double-A, so 31-year-olds. But they can put up. You can put up great numbers at Double-A. Doesn't necessarily mean if you're older. Usually you're you're a spot filler.
Doug, do you remember a player by the name of Porkchop Pugh?
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Okay. He was a legendary Double-A player.
Yeah.
With the Trenton Thunder, because I went to a lot of Trenton Thunder games when I lived in Plainsboro, which is by Princeton, which is very close to Trenton. And I mean, this guy hit a zillion home runs in Double-A, and I don't ever recall him ever getting moved up.
There's a lot.
So he's old. He's old because he went to Virginia for 3 years.
Okay, then why is he still there?
I don't know why he's still down.
Correct. I'll tell you why he's still there. He's got 25 walks in 45 innings. That's not dominating.
So this is a guy that the Phillies should trade, correct? He should be in a package for.
He's a prospect. 25 walks in 45 innings that's not good. That's not dominating the level you're at. That means you're scared to throw it over. You see what I'm saying? Like, just because the numbers are good Like, I mean, and that's the crazy part. That's the hard part. It's hard to talk evaluation when you don't have ever seen these guys. But because you can go off numbers all day long. There's countless numbers. Like the guy you just talked about, and then there's a million guys that like are older and they put up. He might be a piece that's there to protect a younger, more, be there for a prospect that they have higher ceiling for and see what happens. There's a lot of that. I had a lot of guys in AA that were older, like were closers, right? You could throw them every day to protect maybe your other prospects. And then it goes up to AAA too. So it just seems like walks are high. How many hits has he given up in 45 innings?
29.
What's his whip? Does it say?
126.
That's a lot.
1.226.
You got. I mean, just think the difference between a AA hitter and a big league hitter. It'd be like take a D1 football guy and let him go run through a mediocre high school team. That's the difference. Like,
wow,
it's that significant. And then again, I've also said too, like my thought when I was a player was, and this is how it was brought to us, where if you were in AA, you made a AA, you should have one skill that if God forbid we had a rash of injuries at the major level, you can go do one thing. Meaning whether go play defense late, steal a base, get a right-handed hitter out, get a left-handed hitter out, be a good defensive catcher, really dominate right-handed pitching, really dominate left-handed pitching. So like they always like you should be able to do something. God forbid if something happened at the big level. That kind of went away a little bit my last couple of years of managing, because I had a lot of guys in AAA that couldn't do that. But that's the kind of reality. Like AA is when it starts to become a man's league, and things are a little different. Because back in the day when I hate to say that, but back when I played. But it was like AA had all the prospects, right? The hard throwing guys. And then AAA had more of your journeyman guys that were older that could spin it and knew how to get youth hitters out. So that was the MO of minor league ball back then. And it's changed a little bit, obviously, since then, but that's still the parameters. Like the teams that still pull guys from AA, you don't see as often as you have in the past. But yeah, I mean, I just think his walks are high, and I'm just not, it goes back to what round was he? And that matters too.
Right.
If he was 10, 12, they don't own anything. You have to remember too, like if there's a 25-person roster in the minor leagues, like there's 20,
not everyone's gonna make it.
23 to like on average, I would say 22 to 23 and a half are there just so the 1.5 prospects that are there can have people to play around.
So he was a fifth round pick in 2021 out of Virginia.
Something's like
kind of high.
I don't know his history, if he is injured or if they're babying him back from something. Because a lot of times too, if guys have been injured in their previous seasons or whatever, they harness their innings to curtail them to get them through a pro season, right? So college guys, and for example, we always used to take them and since they see how many innings he threw his sophomore year, his junior year, then he gets his pro ball, and you map it out so it's like you go from, let's just say, for example, 100 to 120 to 130 to 135, and then once they hit that plateau, they shut them down. So it's kind of a warped. It's kind of I never really agree with it, but I understood it. So that goes into that too. So I mean, they obviously have more guys that they feel higher. They have more priority to, or they like better than him to keep him there. Some orgs like to win in the minor leagues. They might keep a team together. They don't like the makeup of the next level, so they don't want to put this kid in with that makeup. So there's a lot of little intricate things that go into those decisions. That's really out of evaluators' hands too.
So who? That's on Dombrowski. That's
the minor. Basically, your minor league GM. Because I mean, like the big league GM, yes, he's involved, but at a smaller scale than some teams are collaborate. They do it all. And most teams have us, like the GM will be aware of what's going on. But some teams are, all predicated on what the minor league front office thinks. And once they get to AA or maybe AAA, then the big GM steps in like, how's he doing? What about him? What about this guy? So they have a list and they have a board that they have up there, and they're keeping track of who's where and and what they're doing. So in case they rank them in case something happens, like September call-ups, whatever it is that they want to bring up, they have a list they want to make, and they're doing what they need to do.
Mike Collins is in the house. Very bad time for Castellanos to go cold. The whole team's cold. That's why they're not scoring any runs. So it's not just Castellanos. Castellanos has been one of our better hitters for the whole season. So he's at bat right now. Maybe he can be down to 282. He's been close to 300 the whole year, but his power's there.
You're not going to stay hot all year. No one stays hot all year. Everybody's going to have bad times. Everybody's going to have a little lull. But they just came back. They just played Milwaukee, didn't they?
Yeah, at home. Then they went to Cleveland.
I said it's all about when you play teams. It's like everybody. I mean,
yeah.
About you go cold, you're one swing away from being right where you were before. So, it's I get it. You don't want to. It's never a good time. No one ever wants to slump, but it's as quick as it goes bad, you can turn around and go and get good again too. So, it's hard to stay hot the entire year, for sure. But I mean, they're not. I mean, they had an average week last 10 games. They're 5-5.
1-4 the last 5. Once this team gets in, Doug, I have every confidence that they might go. They have a very strong chance to go to the World Series. I'm more worried about them getting in.
I don't think they have a shot to beat Atlanta this year. Atlanta is.
Everyone said. I heard that. Everyone beat that drum last year, and they beat them in 5.
Teams that have really.
That's because everybody on the team was red hot and killing the ball. I don't. Right now, the Phillies haven't shown that they can do that.
That can change in one game.
They only won 87 games last year. They didn't have a good September last year. They were the last seed. I'm pretty sure they were the last seed.
They were the last seed.
We can't even start to think about what teams will look like in October yet, because it's going to be completely.
No, we don't know. We don't know who's going to be where right now.
And it's like, okay, again, you go back to the Phillies thing, but who are you and I use the word who are you worried about making a run that's going to eclipse you? That's you're worried about getting in.
No one.
The other way, who are you worried about catching fire and catching you?
Well, I think Cincinnati's got a really good young team.
Yeah, but youth always.
They may trade.
I get it. I would love to play Cincinnati because I think Cincinnati's going to make it, whether the champions of the Central or one of these wild card teams. I think they're going to make it. I think Arizona is kind of a they're not young.
I will be more shocked if the Reds get in than if the Phillies don't. It's a great story, and young guys, but
they're a lot of fun.
Young players don't have no idea how long the season is when you win for the first time.
But what about the Orioles, who the Phillies are playing right now? They're young. They're just all kind of came up together.
I'll be shocked if they win the East. Shocked.
I wouldn't be shocked at all if they won the East.
I'll tell you what, if they get their hands on Verlander or Scherzer,
they're not going to do that.
I think the American League better watch out. I mean, they got to have the prospects to get a deal like that done.
Oh, they have the prospects. The question is their ownership right now is so screwed up, with the father and the son suing each other.
Yeah,
the whole thing each other. I don't know if they could agree to anything like that with the salary, right?
With the way the playoff system is now, every team has big warts. Some just use compound W and some don't. If that's a kind of a weird analogy.
I got you.
With the way they've expanded the playoffs, with so many teams being still, quote, in it, there's every team that has, look at every team that's up there has flaws. I mean, hell, the Braves just went and got 2 guys already for their bullpen.
Yeah, I saw that. They got what's his name from the Rockies, who's pretty good.
Right, but they have that's to me that's significant because everybody's the Braves are 30 games over. Yeah, that's great, but you know what that means?
They're looking ahead to the playoffs.
I watched them have 5 Cy Young Award winners from the 80s through the entire 90s. They won 1 championship. So it's made baseball obviously level the playing field because they want it to be more like the NFL, but it also makes October even more intriguing because every team that's still in it means that every team that makes it is more flawed, if that makes sense.
I'm just worried that a team like the Marlins is going to sneak into that 3rd spot because they have, and the Diamondbacks, they've been leading the West all year. Now they're 2-8 in their last 10, and now they're in the wild card.
What are the Diamondbacks? Are they young?
They're young.
Every young team generally falls out of a tree somewhere. Like the Reds. Great story. Trust me, I lived in 01. We were talk of baseball for the first. We were 21-3 or something like that, 18-3, and then we got to September. We're looking across, going they have Tomei and Roberto Alomar, both Alomars, Bartolo Colon, CC Sabathia, Jarrett Wright. We can't hold these guys off, and we didn't. We ran out of gas 5 months because what's a minor league season? 5 months. What's a big league season? 6. And then there's a big league season when you're winning for the first time, and you really don't realize how long the season is. So that's where, especially teams that make the run like they did last year, the Phillies, they don't. I'm sure everybody wants to win the division, absolutely, but they're just trying to get in because, like I said, playoff teams generally have a lull after the playoffs. They don't really play that well, just because the games are boring. I hate to say it, but it's true. Now you're starting to ramp up. You're starting to smell starting to sniff the finish line. Okay, we're getting there, but I'd be more worried if I wasn't a Phillies fan about the Phillies than I would be as a Philly fan, if that makes sense. Because you're looking at that team going, if they get hot, they've got a lineup I don't want to see. Right? They haven't played well all year. That's another check. People think of that as a negative. I look at it the other way. I look at it as a positive, going, they haven't put it together yet. But if they do, look out. Because they have every piece you could possibly want. You have 2 dominant starters. They might not be dominating every outing this year, but they have the track record that they can do it. They have a lineup. They have deep. They have depth. They have power. They have lefties. They have righties. They have experience. They have some young guys. It's they have a solid catcher. I mean, my gosh, that's at the end of the day, talent usually wins out. That's just the way it is. Experienced talent wins out. Yeah, you might have a great season, a bunch of youthful guys, but when they start realizing when Cinderella's slipper falls off, who knows? They might panic. They might not. But the track record means something.
I mean, look at the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers, they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're starting to kind of put the Diamondbacks away here in the West. Mm-hmm. The experience of the Dodgers. So I hear you.
This is the worst Dodger team they've had in 5 or 6 years, I think.
I don't think it's vintage Dodgers at all.
They have no pitching at all. How do they do it with no pitching? That's what's so amazing with them.
Well, the Dodgers are always have guys coming in from the minor leagues, I feel.
Yeah, they have a great minor league system without question.
And they do the Latin market maybe better than anyone.
They do a phenomenal job in the Latin America draft and pickups. But I will say this: they've always done a good job of moving their minor league guys when, let's just say, the guys you don't think of when you start the season, right? You have your list, and these are your dudes. And then there's always those 3 or 4 surprises, good or bad, right? That they're on a second tier, right? Or you like them, but you don't love them. And then when they get going, they just go, send them. Let's just see. He might fizzle. He might go. He might be a guy we get a year or 2 out of, and then we get out. A la the Rays. Everybody's, Rays, this and that. Now look, you don't hear much about them anymore. Now they got, Rosarena screws up and lobs the ball in from left field and wanders, flipping the ball to himself at shortstop. That, let the kids play. It's not fun now, is it, when you're looking up at the Orioles, huh? And that it's not over with yet. Like that type of stuff, like they don't give an award for, being good at the All-Star break. They don't. They don't hand out any trophy. They don't hand out nothing.
Do you think Texas is for real?
That's to me is the most surprising team, only because I think the team they have put together is really, really good. Another job where they pieced it together year to year, but they're doing this with DeGrom blows out. Like you look at what they're doing, and their number one pickup they had hasn't pitched. So that's the scary part. Like going, man, you throw that in there, and now you add that guy to that rotation. So they can hit. And the kid they got in the draft, I wouldn't be shocked to see him in September up there because he can flat out hit.
In this year's draft?
Yeah, I would not.
Who'd they pick?
The kid from Florida, I think, the Langford kid, right? Wyatt Langford, the left fielder.
Oh, yeah. Like, you draft a college stud. Like, what's that? 2 years? You should see him in the majors.
Depends. Each kid's different. Like it's everybody's fear is rushing them too soon. Competition overwhelms them, and then they try to do more than they're capable of doing. Pitcher-wise, they get injured, or they start running from the fight, and it takes them a couple of years to get back, and they don't ever get the guy back. It's like the biggest fear factor at every organization was, well, we can't rush him. Don't rush him. But yet, then they wanted to blink, and he's 26, and he's still in the AAA or AA going, what happened to this guy? So, listen, we all watched the Comic Book series, and Skeens doing what he did with 13 walks and whatever, 200 punch-outs, which is impressive, which means he's getting outs inside the strike zone. And trust me, yes, it was epic, and it was fun to watch, and it's an amazing talent. Let's see what he does when he starts boring the strike zone and guys that can hit that. I'm not saying he's not going to be successful. It's not it. But that's where it goes back to your guy you're talking about. He has 25 walks in 45 innings. He's scared to get outs in the strike zone. Major league pitchers have to get outs inside the zone for the most part. Because at least in the past, big league hitters, when you threw it over the plate and it got too much of the white, it got lambasted. Now guys chase because they're trying to do more. But you can't just throw balls out of the strike zone and get outs in the big leagues. I don't care who's hitting. I don't care who's your teacher, or whatever your swing doctor is, or whatever. You shouldn't chase out of the zone more than once, maybe twice a game. It shouldn't happen religiously unless you've got a major mechanical flaw. So that's going to be the telltale sign. And they answer their own questions. You send the Skeens kid to A-ball. He's going to blow through those guys, right? Move them, right? Maybe not this year because he had a lot of innings and, but, if Pittsburgh was in a playoff race, it'd be the number one topic at every ESPN sports center. What do you do with Skeens? What do you do with them? You bring them up, you bring them in September. What do? You keep pitching, or do you, protect your investment for the long run? So, but that's what tells you. It's like watching a guy as a manager. You watch a guy because you always get the question from the GM or the assistant GM or the minor league director. Is he ready? Right. Well, you look at okay, if you're in AA or AAA, and they're throwing balls, good pitches with 2 strikes, and the hitter keeps fouling it off. That tells you that's not a good indicator of him moving up to the next level and getting away with that, because those foul balls that AAA guys foul off, big league guys drive that, or it's a mistake and they don't miss it, is what I'm saying. So that's where it goes back to your eyes. I can see that with my own eyes. I don't need an analytical data sheet to prove that to me, right? If guys are fouling balls off of a guy at the same level they're at, that's really not dominant. If he's throwing strikes in this zone and guys keep missing it, he's obviously is dominated at this level. So now you move him and challenge him into the next.
Hey, Doug, I have a player for you that I'm really curious about where you think he ends up. A guy like Hader on San Diego, the reliever.
Oh yeah. We faced him in the minor leagues. He was really the same guy, nasty.
Yeah, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. You would think San Diego, if they're going to sell, he's going to be one of the first ones on the list.
I mean, 5.5 back. Is San Diego out of it? Like, are they going to sell?
Yeah, but they're under 500.
I think if you're San Diego, you hold on to them only because there it goes back to that team, that city, right? They've never been good for a long period of time, so they have a window. So you might be more apt to be like, I'm going to hang on to the guy. I might lose him at the end of the year, and that's where those picks come back. So you don't get really penalized for letting a free agent walk because you get like I'm not even 100% positive if that's even true anymore. But it seemed like I still think they get if a guy is a free agent and they go somewhere else, you get a pick.
You get that's what those like the 30. I think there was 37 first round picks this year,
and that's another thing that ties into the trade deadline. If I can't get this goes into GM's thought processes too. For example, this year's draft, right, was super deep in high school talent, right? You look at what someone got at 32. Aiden Miller dropped to what, 22? What were the Phillies picked? 21.
27, I think.
You know, like 32 this year was Kevin McGonigal, or 34 in there, who's going to be a big league second baseman for a long time. And like they know, like GMs and scouts will tell their front office how deep next year's draft is. So that plays into it also. So if I can let Hader walk and pick up the 34th pick, well, if this year's draft is like last year's draft where it's super deep, is the player we're going to get back better than the kid we could get at 32? And if the answer is no, then we'll just let them ride out and see what we get in the draft.
Yeah, but isn't it a timeline thing too? Like the Padres they went Machado, they went Soto, they went Hader, they get all these guys. They're pushing to the middle. Tatis came back, and now it's not working out.
I think it's too early to blow that up yet.
You think? All right.
I think it's. I mean, it's not. Like I said, it's not. They're not the Yankees. They're not the Red Sox. They're not. The Phillies who've been in the World Series last year. They're not. You know what I mean? Like they're not the Braves. You don't just pull the plug on that yet. They built this what they want to take over LA, right, and take over the baseball world with those moves you just mentioned. Not quite so yet. Let's not pull the plug yet.
Okay.
We can still add.
Because I just think that they might be able to get a shitload of prospects for a guy like Hader. Hader could be, for a certain team. Like let's just say the Braves got him to be their closer. I mean, that would be almost borderline ridiculous at this point.
But I mean, like that's where I think you have to blow them out of the water for the deal. That's where the GM or the owner really is in love with player A. Well, I don't care what we got to give up. I really want player A to be on the team now, and they pin the wrist back and go. So it's like,
I think he's the last piece to a team that's looking to win the World Series.
If you have someone that you like that's been having a great year that you think can step into that role right now, and their team doesn't skip a beat, he might be more available. I don't know that much about the Padres, but like I haven't watched them that closely, but like
no, I mean I think
a guy like
he's a big reliever. I mean he's
sure. But I mean like I don't know like the makeup of their pen. Can they go ahead and do they have a guy that they weren't expecting to be very good? Now you move him into the 6-7 role and you slide everybody out one from where you were. Whereas like Josh Hader makes every team better, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to have lefty throwing 100 from the side? With everything, he makes every team better. So but that's where this is intriguing because you can make a move and from a winning team to another winning team, which you never saw that before. You know what I mean? Like I think last year there was a couple moves where like teams went from one team that was winning to another team that was winning. Like you just never would have saw that, 5 years ago.
It's like Jonathan. It's like, I mean, he played at Florida. Jonathan India. He's on the Reds now, and they got all these young guys coming up, and they're like, "Yo, we don't really have we don't have room for this guy to play every day. We got 11 guys that we think are major league players for 9 spots."
Mm-hmm.
So you make a baseball trade, and maybe trade Hader for Jonathan India.
I don't know. Hader was the Brewers were winning when they traded him. They were making the
They
playoffs.
didn't want to. It's the Brewers though. They don't want to pay them.
Right, but still, no one. Trust me, no team wants to pay anybody.
We know that. That's true.
Themselves, but like that's what I mean. Like there's a lot. It's just cool because big market teams always feel like they have a chance. They have the resources to go do it. Then you have teams that haven't won in a while, like the Rangers. Like the Rangers are just laying there in the weeds, going. They might pull off something that they truly feel in their heart that this is the time and this team is ready to go and we feel like we can make it. They might make a splash, which they did already with DeGrom. And
a guy like Hader would really benefit that team too.
Absolutely. So it makes it so much more interesting to where like the moves you try to like. You've always I think we all as fans always try to like think about the moves and what were they thinking? Like you always do that, but like now it's like, huh? Like watching the deadline, it's always to me was always one of the coolest parts about being a baseball fan because you got to see whether it was your team involved or somebody else, or you made a trade to keep that guy going to your rival. There's all kinds of like, little movement and like trying to like jockey for position to keep this guy away from that guy and so on and so forth.
What's it like as a player, Doug? Are like guys on eggshells? Like, I don't want to go here, but I want to leave, but I want to go to this team. I don't want to go to this city.
It depends. I mean, I didn't want to get traded from Minnesota. I did not. And then I got told I was going to, and then I was like, just get me out of here. It's just not going to be fun. And I missed my guys. I shouldn't have. I just was like, there's not. Does any guy ever, anybody in a relationship ever want to stick with someone that they don't want to be with?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. Like you just like, man, I don't feel wanted. You just feel like you're some used piece of meat. You're like, they don't want me, so I'm gonna get out of here. But
so like you go. I guess you go in 2004. You go from the Twins to the Red Sox. Like, I
heard a million places.
Do you come to the ball? Like, who tells you? Like, how? I
was at the field. I took batting practice for the Twins. Like, I was in Twins uniform. Like, we were playing the Red Sox.
And what? They just call you in and like.
They tap me.
Would you just walk across the field and change jerseys?
I literally walked behind where the laundry washer and dryers were. I walked behind, which is like. Both clubhouses were connected by the washroom, the laundry room, and I just walked behind the laundry room or the bat rack where the bats were being kept, and just took my box and went behind and walked in the other clubhouse.
So the Boston was in Minnesota when you got traded?
I was the only person in the Metrodome that weekend that did not win a game. Because I played for the Twins on Friday night, and the Red Sox beat us. And then I played Saturday and Sunday as a Red Sox, and the Twins won Saturday and Sunday.
Does that make it easier that they were in town? Like you don't have to get on a plane, or is it like emotional? Or
it was emotional. I mean, I remember I knew the deadline was coming up, and I remember like running before the game on Friday night, going, "Man, just give me one more good game in a Twins uniform." And I went 3 for 3. We lost, but. And then it's like surreal. It's like I remember like I literally had my Twins pants on. I took batting practice, and 5 minutes for 10 minutes for the game, I'm looking down. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't. And I remember I got my standing ovation my first at bat as a Red Sox in the Metrodome, and I was like, it was a weird, it was a weird dynamic. It was a weird, and it was cool because I got to go. We went from. Well, it really hit me when we got on the bus to go to Tampa. We went to Tampa after that, and it was that's when it really hit me. Like I'm no longer a Twin anymore, and it kind of set in.
Do you remember who you got traded for?
Yeah, it was Jason Jones or something like that. It was basically a 3-way deal. It was the Twins traded me to Chicago, the Cubs, and the Cubs traded me to the Red Sox, and Orlando Cabrera was in the deal. So in one way, shape, or another, it was Nomar went to the Cubs. Alex Gonzalez went to. I should know this. And I don't.
You said the Twins got somebody.
Alex Gonzalez went to the Expos.
Okay.
Yeah, and then. Expos, are they still around? I know I went. It was because I was shocked because I went and brought my bag into the clubhouse and I saw Nomar Garcia Parra packing his, and I was like,
Whoa, yeah.
I think I'm a pretty good player. I ain't no more Garcia Parra. like this is, and I didn't know Orlando was in the deal yet because he didn't come to the next day. So,
Do you think you got traded for Garcia Parra?
yeah, I walked. I remember I talked to Nomar on Friday night, and he's like, "I heard we might be teammates soon," and I was like, "That'd be awesome." I was like, "That'd be great," because I always felt like I made sense to the Red Sox if Nomar was your shortstop, because Nomar had a good arm, but it was a scatter arm. You threw it all over the place. And we got Orlando Cabrera in the deal. I'm like, you can put a bucket over here in Orlando. I mean, you threw everything like right in your emblem of your chest. Like, he never made a bad throw. So I was like, I didn't make any sense when you got Cabrera to come over here because he could flat out play shortstop with the best of them. But yeah, our first reaction was, oh boy, this ain't good. Like, they're gonna blow my car up. They think I'm getting traded for Nomar. But then Orlando came the next day. Yeah, that's a weird feeling. It's like every year it goes on after that. One year I was supposed to go to Detroit or Anaheim, and I hurt my back the week before when I was playing for the Royals, and I hurt my back. But I was like, I was excited because both teams were going to the playoffs, and I was like, yeah, that'd be freaking outstanding if I had a chance to play for one of those guys. And that was the year Detroit went to the World Series, and they got Sean Casey. So yeah, it's in the players' minds for sure.
Do you have like your agent or something? Are you checking the newspaper about the rumors?
They didn't have. I mean, they just started to have the internet back then. So
right.
Oh, okay.
No, like your agent's always in constant contact, and your friends hear everything. Friends' wives and girlfriends, they're hearing stuff. Or Doug's going to Pittsburgh, or Doug's going here, or Doug's going there, and you're just like, I still have 2 weeks left. Like, I'm not going to make this. And it was my first time going through it, and it was a tough road. I wasn't prepared for it. I thought I was going to be a twin the rest of my life, and that's how naive I was. But I just felt like I deserved to stay longer than I did, and I didn't. But then looking back as an older player, and even getting away from it, you realize that I got my shot because they gave their shots to young guys, and I wasn't young anymore. I wasn't. I was a free agent and was making. For the Twins, this significant amount of money when they had Justin Morneau. I mean, it was like,
don't feel bad about Justin Morneau.
Morneau was MVP, so it was like, yeah,
Justin Morneau was a great player. I mean,
phenomenal.
Yeah,
he was amazing.
He replaced a lot of guys. So
yeah,
I mean,
so it's like I didn't, and I just felt like between me and David Ortiz. In Minnesota, it could have worked. And it worked 1 year when we both stayed healthy. 01 and 02, we put up really good numbers with each other. And then I felt like if you could have let Morneau DH and me play first, I think you had the best of both worlds. Just give it a shot. But then again, it goes back to I was having a bad year. This goes back to what we talked about with Stott. I remember Ron Gardenhire was my manager. I got traded in 04. And I remember telling him to his face when he traded me, I said, you're going to wish you had me in New York in October. I go, I promise you, the guys that are having a good year are going to run from the fight in the Bronx. I go, you're going to wish you had me in October in New York. And got traded. And I remember being in Yankee Stadium in the playoffs as a Red Sox, and our beat writer, Jim Suhan, came in from Minnesota. He was there covering it. And he goes, Gardy wanted me to relay a message. And he goes, you were right. I said, yeah, I knew it. And I didn't want to be, I told you so. It's just, there's some guys that have good years that when the games really matter, they're going to run and hide because they can't handle the oohs and ahs of October.
So the Twins traded you, but the Twins were in the playoffs?
Yeah.
That year?
Yeah.
So they made
Yankees that year.
And they traded you for who played first when you left? Was it Morneau?
Yeah.
So they brought Morneau up and they.
Rightfully, she deserved to be, and he was ready. He was
right.
I knew he was ready in 1999 when they drafted him. They took BP in the Metrodome, and he was banging balls in the upper deck, and I was like, started doing the math. I was like, okay, so 2000, so A ball, double A, triple A. I'm like, yeah, 2004, I'm gonna be out of here, and he did it. I mean, hell, that's how funny the media is. Like they try to portray it like we didn't get along. I mean, I remember I'd work with him defensively before games. And when I got traded, he moved into my apartment. I just like, here, just stay here. And like people like wanted to like, oh, Doug left and he wasn't very nice to Morneau and he didn't get along with his teammates. This is coming from some of the coaching staff. I'm just like, this is some nonsense. Like this is crazy. Like Justin's like, no, like Doug left me the keys to his apartment and is using his car. Like he's not, we're fine. So like that's just the craziness that goes on that sometimes the media get a hold.
And now I'm sure we have Twitter now and
trust me,
Facebook.
It's the worst because as a minor league manager, all you want to be able to do is whether it's a call up, a promotion inside the minor leagues, or a release or a send down. The only thing you want to do is you want to be able to tell the player before they read it somewhere, and you just can't get a handle on it. I mean, I can't remember how, especially when you're calling guys up to the big leagues for the first time, you want to make it memorable and special for them because it's a moment that they're going to be asked for. They're going to tell their grandkids about how they got called up to the big leagues, right? So you try to make it fun and, whatever the, personality of the player, you really can't do it because, like I said, I had guys that knew they were going to the big leagues before I did. And I'm managing them in AAA or AA. Like Twitter or their mom found out through social media, and they are, it's crazy. So it's to try to keep anything hush hush now is almost impossible.
Phillies threatening here in the bottom of the 8th. They're down 2-1, first and second, nobody out.
I wonder why the Orioles haven't brought in Cedeno.
I don't know who they have on right now. They didn't use Cano yet either.
I mean Cano. I'm sorry. I'm surprised they haven't they didn't bring in Cano. I mean that's usually their guy in the 8th inning, and then they bring in Batista in the 9th, who's a beast.
Okay, now Edmundo Sosa, I don't know what's going on with the lineup because it's different tonight. But first and second, nobody out. You're at home. You bunt, right?
Nah, nobody bunts anymore.
No.
We're not trying to win games. We're trying to keep fans in the stands. We're gonna swing for the fences.
But Philadelphia, I feel like they might bitch about it long term, but if it works and they tie this game or take the lead,
if they spread around the bunt, there would be 15 analytic kids from Stanford and Harvard running down the tunnel, screaming at them, throwing numbers at them. Like, you kidding me?
He just squared around.
He's squaring.
He squared around when they faked the throw to second, but I think he is trying to bunt. The problem is none of these guys. The problem is, Doug, none of these
nobody
guys
knows how to
bunt.
Nobody knows how to bunt because they don't do it.
That's worse. That's to me. That's what kills me about October. Like, okay, what do you always hear from and whether it's football, basketball, baseball, right? Managers are there to put their players in positions to be successful, right? Well, you're not going to bunt for 6 months, but then in October, when he's taking his 2 token bunts off the BP thrower every round, now you want to lay a bunt down in October, but he hasn't done it all year. And the people, the fans are like, oh, you can't even bunt. Well, that's on the organization because you didn't make it an emphasis to do it during the course of the season. So you're making him do something he's not capable of doing one time, and sometimes it happens. But you see what I'm saying? Like it's like Pete Carroll overthinking the Super Bowl. Like, just give the damn ball to freaking the dude and let him run people over. Right? Don't overthink it.
Marshawn Lynch, yeah.
Like, give to Marshawn Lynch, right? Just like give him the ball. Tell him we're running to Marshawn Lynch. And if he gets tackled 2 times, guess what? You can live with it.
This is the 2-hole up, so I'm confused as to why Trey Turner.
Maybe he heard the podcast and you got him benched. So
maybe. Yeah, I'm sure Topper's listening to me right from the bench on that little iPad. He's got the YouTube app open. So I'm not sure why.
Well, he's not bunting now because he's got 2 strikes on him.
Well, yeah, because he made 2 pathetic attempts at bunts, fouled them both off. Now you can't bunt.
You know what's funny is the guy he's facing. It was one of my lefties I had my first year in Ogden.
Who is this?
Colombe. He was a pitcher for the Ogden Raptors. He was drafted by the Dodgers.
What is his best pitch? What's his out pitch?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
40 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I remember 3/4 change up guy, slider, but he did really well for us. He didn't stay long. I think we only saw him pitch twice. And Ross Stripling was on that team too, so like those guys were just, yeah. You guys shouldn't be here.
Those guys were passing through.
Yeah. Actually, Ross stayed the whole time because they wanted to keep his innings down, but he was nasty. You have Jake Cave now, ex-Yankee Jake Cave, ex-Yankee, ex-Twin Jake Cave.
Yeah, he actually got himself a roster spot in spring training down in Clearwater. I think he hit 400.
216. He's great.
He was a big prospect.
Yeah, well,
with the
he's
Yankees.
not.
He could hit, but they never really gave him a chance.
I tried. I told the Twins. I said, they asked me. I thought he had the best swing in the Yankee left-handed swing in the Yankee system when I was managing the Twins for those 4 or 5 years. His swing was pretty darn perfect.
I don't know why they don't like Cody Clemens. I mean, I get it. It's Cody Clemens. I mean, it's a role player at best. But, I mean, they did the thing with Hall when he came back from injury. Hall's either going to hit a home run or strike out. And he's not a very good first baseman.
I thought I had Josh Harrison my last year as a AAA manager in Toledo, and I thought he was done then. He couldn't run first without blowing a hamstring out. And hey, trust me, when you're an older player, a retired player, you see dudes that are up there like trust me, no one's a bigger Josh Harrison fan than I am. In fact, he's still doing it. God bless him. Love it. He could play. When he was younger, he could flat out play. I'm not saying he can't now, but I'm saying like,
wow.
And Edmundo Sosa lines out
into a double play.
And
they got the guy at second base, the tying run out. Oh, jeez.
So, like, because
that's like a Yankee play, Rob.
No,
but like,
welcome to my world, guys.
Well, because he's unprepared to lay a bunt down. Now he scorches one, and now you got 2 outs. The only thing he couldn't do, the only thing that he needed to avoid there was hitting in the double play. And although it wasn't a conventional double play.
But that's the worst double play because you just lost the tying run.
I'm aware. And now you got Harper up, and Harper is going to try and hit a home run and probably strike out. They're challenging it, so maybe they'll win. I don't know. He looked out to me. It's a forced out.
Why is Sosa in the game, and what happened to Trey Turner? Why did he come out?
I mean, I hope he didn't get hurt. I don't know. I'm hoping someone
didn't get hurt, but you spent the last 30 minutes saying he stinks.
He's not.
Now you don't want to get hurt.
He's better than Edmundo Sosa.
Let's see. Don't see him.
I hope he turns it around, but the reason they only have. Let's see what they say here.
He's out. Oh, by the way, I'm going to the Oriole-Yankee game on Friday in Camden Yards.
Are you wearing your Aaron Hicks jersey?
No, but I got a good laugh before because Aaron Hicks got hurt in the second inning diving for a fly ball. I was like, oh, that's a big surprise.
But now it's up to Bryce. Like, Doug, do you think Bryce's elbow is not where it needs to be the power hitter that he was?
I just think I wouldn't consider Bryce a power hitter in the sense of like that's not all he does, right? So like I think guys like that it's not that easy to just go ahead and just start whacking home runs when you have a significant injury like you have. Maybe it's timing, maybe it's freedom.
Just got a base hit.
He just smoked a single. He's really driving the ball up the middle right now.
That's just
hard.
You have to remember too, like I'm trying to. It's his throwing arm, so it's his bottom hand. There might be like there's some like, right? He did his throwing arm, right?
It's his throwing arm.
So like it's.
I think he throws left too, right? I think
it's the fact that it might be. I would think elbow, Tommy John. You'd be like a little hesitant to let it go and swing and miss. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? Like that. I never had Tommy John. I'm just thinking about when I like you hyperextend your elbow on a changeup that you swing and miss, right? And that hitting for homers, it's a risk versus reward, right? You're lack of a better term, you're educated guessing on what pitch and where it's going to be, and when you do that, that's why you're susceptible to swing and miss. And I guarantee you, his swing and miss is hurt more than any ball he hits hard. Maybe that's it.
But it's frustrating because that base hit would have tied the game if they would have to lead if Sosa got that bunt down.
Have line in double play.
Nah, he would have been walked intentionally if Sosa got the bunt down.
If he were,
there's no way they're pitching. There's no way they're pitching to Bryce Harper with runners on second and third.
What do you guys think about? Because Bryce Harper, all of his numbers are there. His on base is there. His average is there. He just got 4 home runs for whatever reason. Like, why not bat Bryce Harper leadoff? No, Doug?
He's an RBI guy. I wouldn't be batting him leadoff.
What's the difference if you just put Harper first and Schwarber third?
If you needed a hit with the guys on base, who would you rather? Who was the one guy you want up on the Phillies? If you could pick one guy.
Harper.
Correct.
I hear you. People are talking about it, so I want to get your
construction the way they do it now. I still don't understand it. I don't get it. I kudos to Schwarber for like launching balls in the leadoff spot. He's done it. He did it for the Cubs. He's done it a lot of places, and God bless him. Like I said, I did it for 4 games, and I was miserable. But there's something still the middle of the order still means something in this game. No matter how many numbers they try to give you with run production and all this stuff. That's another thing too that I think it's happened so much that players don't think it's that big of a deal. I think they've almost brainwashed the players and then not understand all the years. What's the number one thing you hear about a player when they make it to the big leagues? When they have success. The young player, they come up. What's the word they always use? I'm comfortable, right? I got comfortable, right? Well, how can you get comfortable when you look at the lineup every day? You're in a different spot, and I understand it. And but that's not if the team is struggling, players can't say that. If you want to hit second 145 times, start scoring runs, right? But if you're struggling to score runs, you're going to change it up. So it goes back on the players. If you guys if you guys have a spot you want to hit in, hey, go to the manager. I really want to hit here. I feel comfortable hitting here, right? Well, then they come back and say, then start putting up numbers, start scoring runs, whatever it is. So it's automatic. I just don't see how a player can get comfortable when every day he looks at the lineup, he's in a different spot. Because whether they try to brainwash the players or not, you can't tell me no matter how the game has changed, your mindset changes where you're hitting the lineup.
I think the only reason Schwarber hits leadoff is because he likes it.
Yeah, why not? Because at the end of the day, up until this year, the stolen base was completely wiped off the planet. And the fact that we have to change the rules to create stolen bases is just don't get me started on the whole Manfred. The game's different. Trust me, I had Jock Jones leading off for us in 2002, and he led off the season with a homer. He had a license plate, said 1-0. We loved it because he could run, but if you didn't have your jock strapped on, the first hitter, it was 1-0. And that's not a fun feeling for a starting pitcher going, I got to face this monster from the word jump. I can't leave the pen and I don't have any time to catch a feel of what I'm doing. I got to have my stuff dialed in from the word jump. And that I respect and I understand that. But it goes back to to me, it's more of righty, lefty. And you want balance, right? Because today's game is different. They don't move guys over. They don't hit and run. They don't manufacture.
Yes. Tie game.
Who got the hit?
Sorry.
Castellanos.
Get in there.
I think you just took the lead, didn't you?
No, he got thrown out. Oh, look at Bryce is pissed.
Why am I still on?
I wonder if he ran through a stop sign right there. Looks like they're going to look at it.
I thought he was safe.
The throw beat him.
Yeah, but it looked like he tagged him.
Nah, he's
It's
out.
Who got the hit?
Yeah, he's out. He's got him on the hip.
Let's
Who?
see.
Who got the hit?
Yeah, they did.
Castellanos.
See, Mike. There you go, Mike Collins.
Yeah.
That's time to go cold.
Interesting that they didn't. You know what? He probably. I don't know. I'm guessing, but I'm guessing that. What's his name? Cano probably pitched yesterday and Saturday against Tampa Bay, and they wouldn't use him 3 days in a row, so he probably wasn't available.
You should have Mike Collins pick us lottery numbers. I'll split with you guys.
870. What is it? $875 million.
Wait, so I'm a team player. We'll split it 4 ways if Mike picks the numbers. How about that?
All right.
All right.
What's Castellanos? Castellanos is 8, right? Harper's 3. Schwarber's 12. We gotta get some high numbers in there.
99.
99. We'll get Judge in there. What was your number, Doug? I don't remember.
I was 11 and 16.
There you go.
16 were a lot of
In
16 was the Olympics. Oh, but Nick
All right.
got to do it.
We got about a half hour left before Sports Jeopardy comes on. I believe it's Chrome versus Ralphie tonight, and then Rivals coming up on the nightcap. Talking some New York sports. We talked about it a little before. Talked about it a little last week, a little bit before the show. The running back position in the NFL. They just don't want to pay these guys.
Terrible.
It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. You have to do good enough to not get cut. But if you rush for 2,000 yards, you're also not going to have a job because they don't want to pay you.
Because you're going to be
I think it's
angry and you're not going to get paid your full market value, which is crap.
Doug, what do you make of these professional athletes like Nick Chubb, Christian McCaffrey? I think Jacobs is one of them. They're having these Zoom calls and these group chats to try and
I love it.
fix
Honestly,
it.
I love it. I love it just because of the fact that I can understand how some fans are saying, "Oh, it's 10 million. How can they turn it down?" I get that, but if no matter what your job is, if you do your job and you're more productive than the guy to your left, and he makes $5 an hour, and you make $2, you're angry. So, until they do something about it, it's ridiculous because they get run through the ringer, they get all the touches, and then that they don't want to pay him. And I understand it from the team's perspective too, because the shelf life of a running back is not that long. But, and I use the Giants as an example. You just gave a quarterback that, quite honestly, probably shouldn't even be in the NFL. You gave him
come on. He's not that bad.
He threw 16 touchdown passes last year in an
15,
NFL where you
counting.
can't breathe on a receiver without getting a flag thrown on you.
But his receiver, he had the worst receiving core in the NFL last year.
If you take away Saquon Barkley, you think he's going to throw more or less than 60? How many interceptions is he going to throw if you make him throw the ball 45, 50 times a game?
That depends. He's got better receivers this year.
Okay.
Does he?
Yeah, they got Waller from the Raiders.
If a team knows they're going to throw every down, trust me. Trust me.
They also just signed Robinson from the Jaguars. So that's not such a bad.
Not too many quarterbacks that I wouldn't say yes if they could trade straight up for Tua Tagovailoa. If they gave me Daniel Jones, I would quit being a Dolphins fan. I would quit.
Daniel Jones played very well last year at the end of the season.
17 touchdown passes. 17.
I think. Well,
Yeah,
I
but
think
it wasn't. But he
17. Repeat that.
okay. Here's the problem with that though. They were throwing the ball very limitedly, and they were giving the ball to Barkley all the time.
Okay. My
The
point is,
Giants were a run-first team last year.
if you take that away, you think he's going to be better or worse?
I don't know. I thought he played pretty well last year. He also ran for a shit ton of yards last year as well. scored a lot of touchdowns on the ground. I mean, I don't know. Do the running touchdowns count, or does it always have to be a passing touchdown?
Yeah. Okay.
Because you still get, the last time I checked,
You really want to give the $40 million a year to a quarterback that has to run for a touchdown when he's one hit away from eating his dinner through a straw?
Right. Jalen Hurts gets the same. Jalen Hurts gets the same thing. He runs for a lot of touchdowns.
Built a little bit differently.
Not really.
Like, why would you? Like, Jalen Hurts is 10 times better quarterback than Daniel Jones.
He's not really. If Daniel Jones had the Eagles' offensive line and the Eagles' receivers, you don't think he'd be a better quarterback than he is now?
No, he might be.
I would disagree. I would disagree with that.
One good year. He had one good year. Decent year. He didn't light the world on fire. He had 17 touchdowns throwing. In today's NFL, that's really, really bad. It's not even.
Yeah, but how many did he have running? That counts too, you know.
I don't know, but it's a passing league. It's a passing league, and
but if you get down to the 5-yard line, what's the difference if you're running or you're throwing?
Saquon Barkley. What do you think his numbers are? So my point is, you think Daniel Jones is $30 million a year more important than Saquon Barkley is?
He's a quarterback.
The Giants.
He's a quarterback.
Okay.
And he's not making $40 million a year. The first 2 years, he's only making 19 and 22.
Oh, only?
Yeah, and the Giants have an option. And the Giants have an option. It's a team option after year 2. They can cut him if it doesn't work out, so they don't have to pay him all that money.
So, Doug, you don't think he has a chance to make a jump this year in his second season with Dable?
Yeah,
so I think he does.
Yeah, 16 touchdowns. If the Dolphins' third string guy can throw for 17 touchdowns, he ain't making $40 million a year or 20. He's not making 20. Sorry, my point is he's not $10 million better than Saquon Barkley. You took him with the second pick, so you're telling me you wasted the second pick of the draft for a guy you weren't going to give a second contract to.
They're different general managers.
I understand that. But what's so I don't understand. So you're gonna
how much money? How much? Barkley wanted $14 million guaranteed. Okay, he turned down $13 million guaranteed a year. He wanted 14. Okay, and then the Giants said the heck with. Yeah, he wanted 14 guaranteed.
That's dumb on the Giants. Let $1 million. That's dumb on the Giants. Let $1 million. It's standing in the way of having a franchise player at camp.
But my point is, like,
the Giants can be good this season if they have Saquon Barkley. The NFC is wide open. All the good teams are in the AFC.
The AFC,
except the Eagles.
Yeah, but the Eagles. But the Eagles.
Well, the NFC is pretty much horrible right now, other than the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean.
Like Dallas always blows it. Like I see all these podcasts. The hot thing right now is discussing. They did it on ESPN this morning. Who's going to challenge the Eagles? Everyone's saying Dallas because it's cool to hype up Dallas in August and July, and then when November and December roll around, they're going to fall flat on their face like they always do. The Niners don't have a quarterback.
Right.
They have a lot of good players. They don't have a quarterback. I don't buy Brock Purdy's success for 1 second. Not 1 second. He can't play on the road.
Shanahan's a genius. Well,
he's hurt.
Freaking hell! He tore his ulnar nerve. For God's sake.
Yeah, the Eagles really did a number on him in the NFC Championship game. So I don't know when he's even going to be ready.
He's not going to be ready for a year. You tell your ulnar nerve, it's a year minimum.
They're going to have to be using their first round pick they got a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they got Trey Lance. They got
Okay, I'll end it with this. How many quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks in the NFL, would you want? Like, what's the number instead of Daniel Jones? Do you think it's an upgrade?
Oh, there's at least 9 or 10 that I can think of off the top of my head.
Every bit of it.
I mean, he's probably what?
And that's the idea. I get the quarterback. I would
say he's between 11 and 15.
The quarterback's money is getting out of control.
Yeah, but that's how much they all cost.
How do you reset it? How do you reset it, though?
Doug, here's the question. Who would you have liked them?
Stop paying a running back.
But who would you have liked the Giants to have? Who would you have wanted them to get as a quarterback that was available?
I'm not a GM. Like,
No,
I
I'm
would-
just
Daniel
saying
Jones,
the situation they were in, there was nobody else available. That was the problem.
take the
Yeah,
money.
but Doug's point is he's only outraged that Daniel Jones is making $40 million.
Okay, I know.
Right?
They wouldn't pay. They wouldn't pay.
I'm just telling you what I've never played running back and I never played in the NFL. But if I looked over and someone who was like at the middle. So here's the thing: you take Saquon Barkley. Where would you rank him as far as running backs in the league? He'd
top
be in
five.
Yeah,
right?
top 5. Yeah.
And
Top five.
they run their offense through him. If you rank the top quarterbacks, Daniel Jones is at the bottom somewhere.
Yeah, he's not at the bottom. He's more
He's
like
Out of 32 starters, he's probably in the middle of the pack.
He's at the bottom.
no, he's not at the bottom. He's
If
more
you're-
like he's in
You
the
don't
middle
think he's
right
a top? You don't think he's a top 15 quarterback?
Dear God, no. When you have to have okay, here's my point. If you're devaluing the running back position in the NFL,
Right.
how are you still running your offense through him? Because you don't trust the guy under center. That's why. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but you have to also
No, I
remember.
think you're wrong to say that Daniel
Ryan
Jones is not a
Tannehill.
top
I would
15.
take Ryan-
Yeah, I would disagree with you
I
about
don't agree.
it
I don't
being as
agree with
bad.
that. Ryan Tannehill.
I would
He's
say
not
Ryan
as-
Tannehill over Daniel Jones.
No, not at this point of their career.
How many playoff games is Daniel Jones won?
One.
Okay. Ryan
Like
Tannehill,
pretty darn. It's the only, but he's
It's
only
Ryan
played in one.
Tannehill. When did he set the world on fire in the
he went to the
playoffs?
NFC Championship game.
Yeah, he did. So I guess he won what, 2?
Okay.
With a running back. That's another one.
With Derrick Henry as the focal point. That was the year Derrick Henry rushed for 2,000 yards, probably.
Correct.
Right.
It can happen. But you don't see Ryan Tannehill making $40 million and Derrick Henry making like
It's
half
a
of
lot. That's part of the reason why they had to trade A.J. Brown to Philadelphia.
Right.
The thing. So it's just at what point the position.
So the problem is you're looking at guys like Christian McCaffrey, okay, who's making $18 million and Carolina had to trade him. Okay, Elliott, who's making all that money, and
Elliott stunk since his second year in the NFL.
yeah, well but I'm just saying he got paid and the Cowboys got burned. I mean, listen, the Cowboys didn't pay Pollard, okay, the Raiders didn't pay Jacobs. I mean, it's not like this isn't just one running back.
Not personal.
No, it's a,
The fact that you can't have a system where every position escalates, but the one where you still run your offense through that guy.
Listen, I don't disagree with you. Okay, I would love to see Barkley back there with the Giants, but I mean, if this is their decision, I mean, I can't change their decision.
No,
I would rather see Barkley out there, but you know what? If he's not going to be out there, then there's nothing you can do.
Here's where it gets tricky because you force the player into, oh, my hammy's tight, I'm not playing Monday Night Football. And then the fan base crucifies him saying he's soft and he doesn't want to play. But if I'm Saquon Barkley and I have a hangnail, no, they ain't going out there, boss. Sorry, man. You don't think
Le'Veon Bell.
You don't think I'm worth it? Go ahead.
Well, Le'Veon Bell sat out a whole year.
Right.
Yeah, but the problem for Barkley is that Barkley could end up having to sit out 2 years because they could franchise him 2 years in a row if they wanted to.
That's fine. So, someone out there is going to give him money. Somebody.
Yeah, but he's going to have to wait 2 years and lose $20 million.
I would not be shocked in today's society if these running backs don't get together and completely just we're not going out there. All of
I
it.
mean, that could happen. Listen, I think something.
Really, 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 really bad. This could be a very bad look for the NFL because now
Something has to be.
the players.
Something does have to be done.
These guys, the NFL has put the running back position on an island by themselves. It's going to be ugly. I mean, they're paying tackles now more than they're paying freaking running backs. So the idea is, so the player associations, they don't care because every other position is escalating, and the majority, there's more other positions than there are running backs. So this could be very, very ugly down the road. This isn't going anywhere. This is going to be bad. I mean, what did you say before the show started? The punter's got a $3 million up.
Yeah. I don't have the chart in front of me, but yeah, every position went up. Kickers and punters, everyone went down, and running backs went down $800,000.
Yeah, but I mean another example for running back, the guy in the Rams, I can't remember his name. Who's their big running back?
Todd Gurley.
Yeah, Todd Gurley is another one. I mean, he was great. He had a great year. Then he tears up his knee, and the Rams were paying a fortune for a guy with a torn up knee.
Yeah.
And this is
everybody.
I know.
But this quarterback that can't fall down without banging his head. I mean, this is 90% of the games.
And now you're going to get into, like, if I'm a 5-star recruit coming out of high school and Alabama wants me to come play running back, like, nah, I'm just going to go to Memphis and be a receiver. I don't want to play running back.
Here's to me, a solution is something like this. You're an offensive player. You're not on the line. If you're a lineman, that's different. But if you're an offensive player, receiver, tight end, back. I mean, Saquon caught, 80 balls out of that backfield last year, 77, whatever it was. He's not necessarily.
He caught a lot of balls out of the backfield, yes.
So he caught more passes than some slot receivers did.
He caught more passes than any player on the team.
Right. So, that's my point. Start paying them by, if you want to eliminate the position, because tight end said it, right? Kelsey, all those guys said it about, I'm not a tight end, I'm a receiver. Okay, I want receiver money. Well, okay, then start doing it by percentage. A simple way, add a factor into how many percentage of plays did you run last year was I involved in, and pay according to that.
Well, that's what they did with the edge rushers, because, if you have the 3-4 scheme, they're a linebacker, whereas the 4-3 guys, they're ends.
Correct.
And the ends were making more than the linebackers, and they changed the whole thing.
Correct. So that why can't they do that? I'm not a running back. I'm an offensive playmaker.
Or I'm an H-back.
I'm an offensive playmaker. I'm not a running back. I'm not a receiver. I'm not a tight end. I'm an offensive playmaker.
Well, how many times did they use your boys down there, Waddle and Hill, in the backfield?
Not very often.
If at all. Not very often? Okay.
No, they better not.
So we get to the AFC East, which I think is really intriguing. I don't know. The Jets have to be good, right?
You're never going to hear me say anything positive about the Jets.
The Jets.
But
I mean, you're a quarterback short. You got the defense. You got some pretty good receivers.
And they signed all their defensive players. The ones that matter.
The only thing that's keeping me hopeful is that Skylar Thompson kid, the third string guy that went into Buffalo last year in the playoff game. He was our third string quarterback. Tua gets his bell rung again. That might be the last you see of Tua, because that Thompson dude's coming. And that's going to be the question: do they put the white guy in they signed from the Jets, or do they put Skylar in? Because Skylar, that kid can spin it, and he's not the mobile whatever. Neither is Tua, but I know you pay a backup to be a backup. But Skylar Thompson's pretty damn good. I was impressed.
Mike White's not the answer. Trust me.
Well, he's not, but Skylar Thompson might be, because that's what I mean. Everybody's
he might be.
I fought it for weeks.
Mike White can come in. Mike White can come in for a week or two, and win a couple of games for you. But if you start putting him out there every week, he's going to show his warts.
Back up for a reason. I get it.
Right.
But Skylar Thompson, I'm telling you, I would, if we're going to go down, I'd rather go down with Skylar Thompson than the other guy. That's just the way it is.
Let me ask you about another quarterback, because I'm very curious to hear your opinion about this. Is this the year Justin Fields has to do something, or is he gone if he doesn't?
That's the Bears. They always screw up. I don't know. I watched him rush for what seemed like 1,000 yards against the Dolphins last year. It was the best. I think he rushed for 200 yards against us. But at some point, just like why the Giants signed Daniel Jones, at some point you keep taking these quarterbacks. You're going to have to give the reins to somebody for longer than 3 years, aren't you? Whether it's a coaching staff, an offensive scheme, whatever it is. You can't.
Yeah, of course. You have to do that.
You have to at some point. I mean, I lived it as a Dolphin fan. Every year we get a different coordinator, different coach. different scheme. Now we got to change the concept, all this other stuff. It's like, can we just, I mean, even if they're mediocre, can we stay with them for a little bit before we realize, hey, it may or may not work, before we just like pull the plug and completely flush it down the toilet and start all over again? So that's the frustrating part about being like, there's no worse spot to be in the NFL than 9-7, 8-8 back in the day. Now it's the 17 games, whatever it is. Now it's whatever's the numbers are. But like that mediocre 7-9, like a couple years ago they played 16 games, right? You're 8-8, 9-7, 7-9. You get the middle of the pack of the draft, and you don't quite get the difference maker at the quarterback position, and you're just, good enough to not make the playoffs and not get a really good player in the draft.
It depends on who your quarterback is.
100%.
That really, if you're 8-8, 7-9, all right, 9-7, whatever, in that general range. If you have a legitimate franchise quarterback, then you're probably looking at an upward trend. If you have a bad or a mediocre quarterback, you're probably going to be stuck in limbo for the next however many years.
This is my argument.
You get really bad.
This is my argument with people about the Dolphins. This is a make or break year for the Dolphins because Tua's contract's coming up. So like you go and we could go get Ramsey and Chubb and all these guys and all these, like Waddle and have Tyreek Hill, and we can get all these dudes because we have a quarterback on his rookie contract. Now, what happens? Are we worse? Like I'm not a Tua hater. I just don't think he's durable enough to play
You're concerned about his availability. I get it.
And like that's 99% of being an NFL quarterback is your availability. Like that's
absolutely.
Eli, people love or hate him, great or bad. That dude went to the post every single week, and you knew who your quarterback was. So
yep, that's extremely
huge.
Important.
100%. Like I think we're a great team with Tua. I don't think if we need him to win a game on his own, I think we're screwed. But I think he can.
Well, I'll tell you what. In game one of the games between Miami and Buffalo last year, the one in Miami.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Tua was the difference in that game until he got hurt.
I'm not saying he can't do. I'm talking about like if fourth quarter we're down a score and Tyreek pulls a hamstring. Is he going to be able to like lead us down the field, throw a 30-yard dime? And like I don't know that. I just don't.
I think Tua can do. I think Tua can do that. I
don't think we do it for 17 games because he hasn't played 17 games. He hasn't been healthy since his sophomore year of college.
That's the.
And that's my point. I'm not a Tua hater. I don't hate Tua. I just don't think he's durable enough. You took a 5'10", 190-pound quarterback who's not mobile with a bad hip with the 5th pick of the draft. Like that's my point. And that's my point. If you stick somebody else in the system, I watched Skylar Thompson. No one knew who Skylar Thompson was. It was our third-string quarterback. He put 35 or whatever, 38 points against Buffalo in the snow with these guys. And that's my point. Like, if we can't keep changing the offense because we don't know if this guy's a love tap away from hitting his head again. And I'm not trying to be personal, but the one hit he took against Buffalo, he like fell back on his head. It wasn't violent. The one against Cincinnati was awful, right? And then the last one wasn't that violent either. And it's like you can't hold your breath every time he drops back and thinking, oh my gosh, is he going to get up? Is he going to get a concussion? You know what I mean? Like you can't live like that.
But if your Dolphins, let's say they do something crazy and go 12-5, and
that could happen. I mean,
it could happen.
They've got some weapons. If God forbid he stays on the field.
McDaniel's a little mad scientist kind of a guy, and they brought in Ramsey. But like, if you go 12-5 and win a playoff game, what do you do with Tua?
Depends on how it looks. That's my argument on the flip side. If he gets hurt,
so what? If he stays healthy this year, then for all eternity he's going to stay healthy.
If that's the dangerous slope, right? Because like if he plays all 17 games, does exactly what you said, do we forget the fact that he's still one hit away from never playing again? Or like I don't ever wish a player to get hurt, ever. I don't care what sport it is. I hate it. I don't ever want to see it. But if he does get hurt again, it makes the decision simple for us, right? If he plays 17 games, now what do we do? You pay him, do you give him $150 million, 100 of it guaranteed, knowing that someone flicks him in the back of the head and he can't ever play again?
Well, that's the decision the GM.
And there goes you're not going to have Waddle and and the rest of the core. You're going to have to lose somebody. You can't just all of a sudden have a $50 million quarterback and a $45 million DB. It doesn't work that way. You're going to have to.
That's going to be the question that their GM has to figure out. That's a tough.
It's a nasty. It's like I live down here. And I listen to it every morning. The Joe Rogan Show. I listen to it all day, every morning. And it's like it's right. It's like we're in a.
I guess my point being is I think Miami's going to be pretty good. I'm concerned about Buffalo.
They can be. They're going to have They're going to be best team we've had as a Dolphins fan since Marino, like in the early 90s. But it's the one year that the AFC went ahead and just stockpiled everybody. We might be the best team the Dolphins have had in 25 years and go, 10-7.
Well, I'm worried about Buffalo. I think second place is wide open. I think first place is wide open in the East. I know they have Josh Allen and he's sexy, but he makes mistakes.
Until they're beaten, they're still as painful as that is for me to say. It's just show me. I don't want to hear.
No, their defense isn't what it was. They don't run the ball. Diggs is unhappy.
The ball in 3 years.
Well, their defense wasn't healthy last year. At the end of the season,
so what? Von Miller's going to come back after another ACL.
Well, him and you're going to get him and Hamlin both playing again.
I just worry about the thing is that the AFC East is going to be so like it's so deep that you might.
Yeah, it's going to be a killer. That division.
7 and you're beat up because it's like a constant. It's like a heavyweight fight every week, and then you get in the playoffs, and now you're going to have to go play somebody on the road in a spot because no one's going 13-4 in the AFC East.
No
one's, you know what I mean? So you're going to be stuck going on the road somewhere in an important game on a team that may be in a lesser division that has a better record. It's going to be nasty.
Here's the problem: the whole AFC is really good.
Yeah,
that's
no bad teams.
And you can laugh as much as you want when I say this, but even the Texans are going to be a lot better now.
A lot better.
They're going to be a lot better.
Second and third pick in the draft. They picked Will Anderson and
they drafted a really good defensive player, and they drafted Stroud.
We played
Stroud, yeah.
And we blew them out in the first half. In the second half, we had to hold on. Like Tua was getting murdered. I'm like, why are we putting him in deep drops? Like get the ball out of his hand, get him off the field.
Kansas City beat them in overtime.
Right.
The Texans.
Trust me.
And and the Texans gave a lot of teams a lot more than they can handle. And you know what? They're going to steal a couple of games from some team that goes in there
100%.
Expecting an easy win.
100%.
You know that.
And that's what's scary about the AFC in general, because every fan does it, right? They get the schedule and win, loss, win.
Right.
You look at the Dolphins, anybody from the AFC East, you can go down 17 games and go, I don't know. You feel good about it, but I can't. I look at the schedule and I go, there's not a 100% guaranteed win on this sheet with the best team the Dolphins have had in 10 years.
And there's also no guaranteed loss either.
100%. If we show up, we should take care of business, and we could be that 13-4 team. I go, but if we don't show up some weeks, we could be the same 9-8 team we've been for the last 15, 20 years.
Doug, you have to pretend you're playing New England every week.
You're not going to get any sympathy from me about New England.
No, I'm just.
The
Dolphins have always played great against New England.
I will say
everyone goes down there when it's all hot and they're not used to it, and they lose.
That's the one thing. Aaron Rodgers comes down from Green Bay and it's 40 in Miami. I'm like, what? It was the one game where I was like, are you kidding me? It was 45 degrees.
Yeah, that was Christmas.
I'm like, wait a minute, what? I wanted it to be 98.
Yeah.
No shade. Like, come down here.
Yeah, when you mean like when Josh what's his name, when Josh Allen came with the Bills that one in Game 1
He
last
just got
year.
gassed.
It was 90 degrees, and the Buffalo Bills, the entire team's tongues were hanging out.
The Eagles, we do got to go. We got to get off for Sports Chat. But yeah, the Eagles went down there the day after Thanksgiving or the weekend of Thanksgiving, and it was like 84,
Right.
and they just got gassed.
It happens.
All right, we got to get out of here. Sports Jeopardy's coming up next. Doug Mankiewicz, Brad Ryer, I'm Rob Brinkman. Check out all the programming here all week on A2D Radio. Going to be ramping up the football talk. Training camp starts tomorrow here in Philadelphia. I know the Lions and the Chiefs were in the opener. They got going underway last week. Until next Monday, peace out, everybody.